Okay, we are officially live on YouTube. So if you don't want to be on YouTube, then you can just turn your camera off. Don't feel pressure to look glamorous on a Friday evening if you don't feel like it. I'll turn off that echo.
Yeah.
Let's begin, lads and ladies. Okay, so welcome to the Mancunian Ways launch. It's amazing to have you all with us. Fortunately, we can't do it in person, but we're hoping New Year we might be able to do something where we can all gather together. So the Mancunian Ways Anthology, it looks like this. I should probably say, if anyone doesn't know, my name is Isabel Kenyon. I run Flower on the Wall Press. We're what you would call a micro press in that we're one person. But yes, so everything we do in-house, apart from the actual physical creation of the book. But yes, so this gorgeous cover image is by one of the poets actually in the collection called Cheryl Pearson, who sadly can't be with us tonight, but you'll see she has some photography in and some poetry. And we have 37 wonderful contributors within who all experience Manchester or feel a connection to it or actually live in the city in the past or present. And we have different interpretation of what that means to them and throughout history as well. So hope you'll hear a flavour of it tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to show you, as long as Zoom works, a presentation which shows you a bit of the photography. And because Rosie Garland couldn't perform with us tonight, I've got an extract of her poem and her performing it over it. It's called Something in the Water, so that's what you will hear. So let's give screen sharing a go. Everyone wish me luck. If you don't already have yourself on mute, just for the presentation bit, if you could just put yourself on mute because you should be able to hear some sound. So I might just say, is this working? And then if it is, I'll shut up. Okay, let's give it a go. Did you hear the poem? No. Do you know what? I thought this is not going to work because when I did it before, it didn't work. So I think I'll put that on YouTube for you after because I have to send the presentation to someone and it'll take too long. But Rosie does a really lovely performance. And yeah, hopefully you can hear that on YouTube belatedly. So our first live performance of the evening is with Ben, who is the artistic associate of the Museum of Homelessness. So we can do a proper loud clap, we can do a fake clap, we can wave. When you're ready, Ben.
Yeah. And because Engels did write Conditions of Working Class in Manchester, it's about that and us and homelessness and all those sorts of things. And this is the poem. The war of each against all is here openly declared. Salford survivor Mary Burns opened Engels' eyes to workers and those unable even to. Edgeland's incendiarist Whitney, Inferno, Truth Burns, Love Rages, Engels, into Free Union for Life, and across Cottonopolis's 1840s pages of working/underclasses. How much is learned, how much earned? Provoked to madness by the brutality of wealth. Hives line seizing us in an early 2000s hostel. After support workers, what do you need books for? You're homeless. And us burning to read 'em wrong across 13 years. Lucky for some, graduating open uni and open degree, heart attacked a year back. Has nothing been learned? We've learned. And that with love's raging, much can be turned. Cheers.
Thank you, Ben. I feel like I should do a secret clap, otherwise it will just be me clapping with the noise. But everyone has clapped. Thank you, Ben. That was fantastic. So next up, we have the lovely Ben Cassidy. And Ben graduated with a degree from Manchester Metropolitan University in 2018. And now he is one of the lovely poets in our book. And actually, I should say, this is the first book that he's been published in, and hopefully the first of many. So when you are ready, Ben.
No, I can be heard now. I was on mute. Thanks, Isabel, for introducing me. It's lovely to meet you, everybody. I don't really think there's much about the hacienda that I can say that hasn't been said. So I'm just going to get on with it and read the poem. Tony Wilson's Dream. Opened May in '82. He'd built it. Oh, they came. Saw the world within, setting everyone ablaze. Closed down June '97. Lives never to be the same. Atmosphere caught. Made vision of the dream. The first called Flight of Fancy. Just a passing craze. Opened May '82. Tony Wilson built on it. More came. Never profiting financially, it stayed a crazed scheme. The dance remained. Cash vaporized. The heady haze closed down June '97. A world made not to stay the same. Manchester again, soared back to global fame. Beating heart of the party, barking wild ways. Open May '82, cemented now. Far from afar they came. Baggy trousers, tie-dye t-shirts, that soon established theme. Ravers drinking, dancing, reveling nights into days. Closed down, June '97, no place could ever do the same. A funhouse made, the church to music changed the game. Though the night out's done, the place posh flats, the song stays always. Opens May '82, Tony Wilson's Dream. He built, they came. Closed down June '97. His disciples keep his hacienda's flame. Cheers, everybody. Massive thanks. And a massive thanks to Isabel. And I'm deeply grateful and privileged that this is the first publication I've made it into. So thank you.
Cheers, Ben. Lovely to have a Tony Wilson poem in there. You got a really nice round of applause. I feel like everyone coordinated then in that Zoom moment. Good.
Thank you, everyone.
Next up, we have the lovely Sam Rose, who is the editor of Peking Cat magazine, which is a really lovely magazine. So if you don't know them, submit your work to them. And Sam's going to perform for us tonight.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to just dedicate this reading, if I may, to my uncle Mick, who, like most of my family, was from Greater Manchester, because coincidentally, he actually passed away on this day 3 years ago. And in protest of my Midlands accent, he used to tell me, you have to talk proper like we do up north. So it seems quite apt to dedicate this reading to him. This poem is called Sounds Imported from Up North. Come on, buggerlugs, mum cajoles. The sun's cracking the flags out there. But I've never been a morning person or an outside person, or it's spitting as we walk to school through the ginnel, one house down, fine in daylight, creepy when night hides the graffiti. Back home, make us a brew, eh, cock? Aye, yeah. Do you want a biscuit or anything to tide you over until tea? Nah, now. Bleeding Nora, Dad shouts as he bangs his head on the cupboard. What a pillock. Homework help at the kitchen table. I see, said the blind man, Dad says, when I claim to understand something that's obviously clear as mud to me. Fast forward to adulthood. I call my partner buggerlugs. Tell my friend to stop mithering, but Willie Ecker's like. They look at me bewildered. We're a Midlands mob. Southern subjects, else they would say, you what? You barn pot. And I'd be well chuffed if they did.
I need you two to sit down. Come on, sit.
Oh, we got a dog. I love when we get a dog. Thank you, Sam. I feel like more people use the word barn pot. Not enough people use that. So next up we have Alicia Fitton, her first poetry collection has just been released, and it's called So Tightly Wound, and it can be found on Amazon. We got Alicia.
Thank you. So this poem is very much inspired by my commute, which I'm really missing during lockdown. And but bonus content, the Get on the Tram Mate section, real life, happened for about 10 minutes. There were no other lyrics, and he did not get on the tram. It was the highlight of my year. Out of the dark at 6 a.m, twin headlamps lit to bear us in, to struggle through the day's commute. Get on the tram, mate! Get on the tram! No! Get on the tram! Our hair, our skin, our coats, our boots, our flags of pride so rainbow cute. They say this city is crammed. I cycle slowly through the park, past muddied grass that's parted hard. I walk the leather from my feet the wrong way down John Dalton Street. We trundle fast on tracks beneath a sky that swoops and swirls to lift, on tower blocks and orange cranes, on empty shells where no one lives, on driving, sleeting, stair-rod rain that drowns our fears and soaks our shame. They say this city's wet. We clatter through industrial past, where science stained the brickwork dark. Lowry white, metallic bright, those planes of space no longer sit, the layers stacked and jostle tight. With geometry and human sweat, the glimmered guilt of architects. We sprawl at the foot of mighty Irby, sprawl in the lap of Piccadilly. Collections for the masses, yet they say this city's grim. Bronze Emily now reaches out. She begs us to consider how art for art's sake, politics for fuck's sake, retail chains to hold us down. Brave women stood and shouted loud, and people marched, would not be cowed by men on horses trampling down. We rise, we rose, our colours proud. Echoes with the clink of glasses, Gothic stones in tawny brown. They say Manchester's grey, but I see the bright spark at its heart. It opens with a warm embrace. Shouts, here I am, so now keep pace. We say this city's loud. Thank you.
That was gorgeous. Thank you so much. I love the Get on the Tram, mate. So next up we have Linda Golden, who is based around where I used to be. I've just moved into Manchester, but Linda and I used to go to the same writing group in New Mills, so lovely connection. And her poetry collection just came out with Half Moon Books. It's called Speaking Parts, and tonight she's going to perform her poem from the Anthology for us.
Thank you. I wasn't going to dedicate, but as people have been dedicating, I think I'll dedicate this one to my unused rail card. Standard Fare by Linda Golden. From a tram seat and a touch screen, somewhere between the gardens and St. Peter's Square, a woman in a raincoat looks up, half aware. Outside the closed library, in half shadow, two men, half hidden, sit below an overhang between the pillars of the portico. Someone stands, obscuring half her view, but something passed between the two, and one falls heavily, strobed blue, by someone else's ambulance, slewed, slow, caught between the bank and Cafe Nero, sirening rivers of pedestrian flow. On Mosley Street and further down the line, as reasons to ignore rehearse, refine, her fingers stumble over 999. Between the tramway and the airport train, the signal cut. No need to try again. After 3 stops, a body feels no pain.
It's a beautiful reading, Linda. Thank you. So next up we have Ruth Aylett, sorry. So Ruth's going to read 2 poems for us, I believe. And she's really lucky because she's got a collection out next year, and hopefully you might be able to do a physical launch, which would be nice for you, Ruth. It's called Pretty in Pink, so keep an eye out for that one. And when you're ready, Ruth, look forward to your readings.
Hi, everybody. I don't live in Manchester now, but I did live in Stockport for 15 years and worked in Salford, and I was at school in Manchester as a kid. So I'm an Edinburgh exile now. This 2 pieces from the anthology. The first is a short one about one of the Lowry pictures in the City Art Gallery. So after Lowry, laying a foundation stone, 1936. Now then, it's not funny, you know. A serious matter is laying a foundation stone, a put on the best hat occasion, a line up the children and stop your fidgeting occasion. That means you, George. Can't help those flags. The FET committee should have washed them, but we've yon great union one. Of course we're patriotic. Yes, in or out of work. Just keep quiet then, Frank. Stick to your pipe. And shoo those flaming dogs before they do something as they shouldn't. Shh, councillors arrived. Such well-chosen words. Education is vital. Prepare them kids for a great future, peace and prosperity in their time. Now then, it's not funny, you know. And the second piece is a complete contrast. I read a verbatim translation of a poem by a Tang poet, famous Tang poet called Li Bo, Chinese, about Changkang village. And somehow, for me, it happens in Manchester. Well, it happens in Wythenshawe, in fact. So this is a reimagined poem by Li Bo. Changkang comes to Manchester. My bubble perm was still new then. I sat on our front step, messaging me mates. You pulled up on your new mountain bike in unscratched silver, did casual wheelies. We both lived here in Wythenshawe, both restless, wanting something different. Only 14. You said you were the one, but I was sure a better bloke would come along. Mouthed off at you, texted my mates' sneers, ignored your smiles, pushed off embraces. But the very next year, my heart crumbled, and suddenly I couldn't live without you. You told me you were Mr. Dependable. No dropping me suddenly if I got pregnant. Then a summer later, you went to be a squaddie, allocated to the 2nd Iraq tour of duty. The summer smog turned the sky blank, and the estate echoed to stolen cars at night. We stood for more than an hour on the front step, and I drew a black marker line round your feet. Dust scours it away as I brush the step clean. And late August is already autumn. Leaves fall into September. 2 red admirals jostle on the waste ground willow herb, stick together, and it hurts. When I look in the mirror, I see some worn-out, heart-sick stranger. Before you come back from Baghdad or wherever, send a text or an email. But don't think I'm coming down south to meet you. no further than the train station at Piccadilly. Thanks.
Ah, thank you, Ruth. I love the way you perform. It really brings it to life for us, which is lovely. So next up, we have the lovely Abbey Day. And I feel like Abbey has a really cool job because she works as an editor for the British Library Publishing. So I don't know, Abbey, I think you've got the best job. So when you're ready.
Thanks. I'm Abbey Day. I grew up just south of Manchester, but I was living in London when I heard about the Manchester Arena bombing. And I found it incredibly surreal kind of walking around the city of London and everyone was talking about Manchester. It was kind of the front cover of every newspaper. So it prompted me to rethink my connection to the city I'd grown up in. So this is Long Distance. Recently, I've not been coming round to visit. Instead, I stuffed my suitcase with excuses. It has been too long, and I am always misremembering us. The clumsy firsts of youth we spent together, when you watched me gut the house of my possessions when I'd finished, and my life without you fitted into a car boot. I thought you seemed upset. Or maybe I imagined my profile on the Manchester Evening News. Another millennial leaving town to pursue big dreams in the big smoke. An unfamiliar Piccadilly. A different O2. Manchester. I miss you more than I thought it was possible to miss an industrial skyline. When I read your name in train stations, I turn away to stop myself checking the platform number. So when I see you in the news, your face painted with suffering and resilience, I think, God, I miss this Wonderwall city of mine. Tony Walsh's voice declares, this is the place, through the speakers in Euston Station, and London nods along in sympathy. It hits close to home to be so far from you, to feel a stranger in my anger at those who invade the places I associate with childhood and make them feel unsafe. And when I talk, I feel the vowels expand. Slipping accents are inevitable, but I have London's tube lines tattooed across my speech. I'm better at directions here, and using northern phrases has begun to feel like stealing. I don't call much these days. You are a distant acquaintance who has suffered a loss, and it is no longer my place to comfort you. I tell myself it would be disingenuous to try. I called you last week. No one picked up. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Abbey. People have already been doing it, but if you've got any thoughts or comments that you want to share about the poetry as we go along and tell the poet what you thought, feel free to put it in the chat and they'll be able to read it and see what you thought. So there's lots of lovely comments for you, Abbey. Okay, so next up we have Elizabeth Gibson, and Elizabeth was shortlisted for a really prestigious prize a few years ago, the Poetry Business New Poets Prize, which I think is fantastic. So well done, Elizabeth, and looking forward to hearing your poetry this evening.
Hi, so I've got two quite short poems and quite contrasting as well. The first one is a bit of a tale of heartbreak, but it was a couple of years ago, so I'm kind of over it. But it's called On This Hot May Afternoon. On this hot May afternoon, you make fun yet again of our yellow trams. Tell me there is no point to them. You live or lived in Rusholme, land of buses, classes, student residences, squirrels and magpies, curry and donuts. You never came with me to the ship canal at Salford Quays to see the Canada geese, or to Chiltern to eat halloumi burgers, see cherry blossom and a possible future. Now we are on our final journey to Piccadilly Station, your train. I will help you with your bags, books, plants, all the random stuff a student acquires. I will bluff my way onto your platform, where we will awkwardly hug. I will notice how green your eyes are, and wonder if we look like a couple. That's one of them. And then the second one is a lot happier, and it's a sonnet, and it's about always feeling like I belong in Manchester even after I've been away for a bit, because during my degree I spent a couple of years living abroad. So it's about returning, and it's called Arrival. Once a little fish swam across a wide warm sea, till it came upon an island with a beehive bright and pretty. The fish longed to stay here to explore this honeyed city, so it flopped out of the water and it dressed up as a bee. It came to love the colours, the sweetness and the buzzing, and knew that it belonged there for what it lacked in history. It made up with the ocean, with its wisdom and its mystery, and when it felt alone, in its mind the waves were hushing. Over time the fish grew braver, let its silver scales start shining, to form a new mosaic with its black and golden fur. And daring to believe it could be true to both its worlds, this new critter relaxed, spread its wings and started climbing. There was still some doubt there though, till that night when you told me, but you're a Mancunian, so casually and so free. Thanks.
I love that, Elizabeth. And I just realised we put you and Abbey together, and we both had those meetings in train stations or not, and how significant they are to how at home we feel. So that was quite nice. I feel like complimented quite well. So next up, and if I butcher your name here, you are allowed to tell me off. It is Reshma Ruaya. I hope I said it right, Reshma. I hope I've not ruined it.
Yeah, no, you have, yeah, Reshma Ruaya.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. So I was born in India, and I was brought up in Italy, and I moved to Manchester about 26 years back. But and ever since then, you know, I'm proud to call this city home, and I love its spirit. And my poem that I'm going to read today, it's inspired by two of my favorite places. One is called Home, which is a cultural place just near the GMAX, and the other one is a Whitworth gallery. So this is a Manchester love story. The scent of love is the smell of chips on your fingernails, vinegar doused, eaten hunched together outside Leo's fish bar. The sky above pinpricked with slate grey Manchester rain. You have left your umbrella on the tram somewhere between Altrincham and Trafford Park, but it doesn't really matter. For now, you have this glorious stretch of day unrolling like a red carpet at a movie premiere. What shall we do next, you ask, your eyes saucer-eyed with longing and lust. And he replies, how about taking a turn at the Whitworth Gallery? I heard there are 20,000 textiles from across the world. Bolts of brocade and silk that whisper of Britain's imperial past. Yes, you say, slipping your damp hand in his. History can sometimes be cruel. You walk towards the museum cafe, swinging from the trees of Whitworth Park. The soups are exceedingly good, you tell him, your mouth hovering over the cream bowl in which swim tomatoes the color of blood red sunsets. Outside the giant-sized windows, the tall trees undress with cheerful abandon, shedding the leaves, slipping out of their skin with practiced ease. Winter will soon be here, but you don't really care. You have him. After, you'll wander hand in hand, stare at portraits of long dead cotton barons that once made this city great. There, that's him. You point to the pale pink man, his lips pleated in a smile. Samuel Gregg. He built Quarry Bank Mill on the banks of the River Bollin. You feel like a child showing off your favorite toy. What next, he asks. My train doesn't leave till 8:30 late. You drag him to where Engels stands, tall and proud, broken and put together again, on the long, long ride from Ukraine to Tony Wilson Place. Home, right there. Let's watch a film. They have a season of Brazilian noir, and the director is coming along for a chat. Home? Is this an invite of sorts, he asks. The corners of his eyebrows rise up in pleasured surprise. Home is much more than home, you explain. We can sip cocktails, catch a movie or a show, dream our lives away in plush red seats, glass of vino and popcorn in hand. Sounds like my kind of place, he says, flinging a careless arm around your shoulder. You're trembling, but it could just be the cold. The day refuses to end, or maybe Manchester is just kind to lovers. The sky wiped clean of rain throws a blue, toothy grin as you make your way to Rusholme, past laughing students strolling, satchels slung on their backs. Fairy tale string lights wink from wholesale spice cellars, and shisha smoke smudges the coal in your eyes. There'll be mango lassi and platters of kebab, and biryani cooked just the way you like it. There's a carnival of taste inside your mouth. You giggle when he leans forward to flick away the grain of rice stuck to your cheek. Happiness suits you, he says, as you gift wrap your city for him to take back. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
That was gorgeous. Thank you, Rashma. I still love that line about Manchester being kind to lovers. One of the sections in the book, like when I was trying to decide what sections we were doing, then I did Northern Dream because I thought of this poem by you about Manchester being kind to lovers, and I thought maybe it's a love story and it's all a dream, and that kind of fit. That was one of my sections, and sort of. So the next lovely poet that we got this evening. Oh, and I should say, by the way, we've got two more, then we're going to have a bit of a break, grab a drink, and then come back for the second lot of lovely poets. So now we have Rod Whitworth, and Rod is based in Oldham at the moment. He's been in Manchester for quite a while, and he's been published in various reputable journals.
Right. This poem is called Spiced. It's like an island in St. Peter's Square, this tram stop where I wait and look towards the colonnade. A man lies supine there, and not a single passerby affords him help. I leave the platform, lean to speak. Are you okay, mate? Eyes as blank as stone look up. I tap 999. They're quick to answer. Then while I'm still on the phone, a uniform, police support arrives, says, stop that call. I see this every day. He'll soon be up. 2 ticks. The man revives, springs up and shakes his head. He's wide awake. He strides, yes, strides across the square, mind fixed on means to get from this hour to the next.
Thank you, Rod. I remember when I first read this poem, I thought, oh, okay, this is the exact thing that's happened to me as well. It was outside St. Peter's Square, like outside the library. And there's this man who, well, it was a little bit different to yours because he was properly having an epileptic fit, but because he was a drunk, the passing police were saying, well, we know him, he's a drunk, he'll be fine. But it was like, he's also epileptic, so, but there's quite a lot of scenes like that, unfortunately, across Manchester that, when I read this poem, I was like, we've got to get this in there because, obviously Manchester has a spice problem at the moment, and I want that side to be in there as well. So thank you, Rod. So next up, we have the lovely Sarah Prichard, and she has been a playback theatre member since 1992, which I love as a fellow thespian.
Hi, Isabel. Lovely to see you face to face. And I apologise if the dinosaurs come back across the screen. I'm going to read the two poems that are in. Thank you very much, Isabel. And one is a blast from the past and the other is a bit more recent. I came to Manchester in 1981 on the surface of it to do teacher training, and I've never left, but I also came for another very personal reason. This is called Before the Village. After the gaslight and decades before the village, I smelt your welcome to coming out 200 miles away. Our village gathered down back streets, in cellars, in back rooms behind back rooms. We entered the exit club and were entranced on poppers, fought like schoolgirls in Swithins. Then our closeted police sisters were warning us about a police raid. When married women told families they were out playing bingo, we got bold and out at Polytechnical Gay Student Disco on A-Town Street. We cringed in Dickens at voyeurs sitting like straight couples on the edge of the dance floor. We cabareted at Follies and sang karaoke at Munro's, had a third floor women's floor at Paradise, and gradually crept closer and closer to Bloom Street, Canal Street, the red light district. Our pink village seemed to spring up, back out against Clause 28, AIDS, and the Thatcher years, like a rush of blossom on a bright new day, sprinkling confetti on a huge gay wedding. Thank you. And my second poem that Isabel's been very lovely enough to accept as a modern one, having been here nearly 40 years, my goodness, how it's changed. From a red brick city, it's booming into something quite different, and this is about that. Thanks, Marion. Hello. Yeah, I know you'd remember those days. This is called City of Cranes. This bird needs space. He is alone as he climbs the ladder cage, the tallest of legs, the widest of wings. It can take him 15 minutes. She needs safety, no disturbances to nest. He must take all the food he needs with him. She's an omnivore, will feed on nearby insects, small mammals, vegetation. He has a tube to excrete urine to a portaloo. She will nurse the eggs for weeks in this preferred wetland. He can see into private lives from up here, the parties, the alone, the scared, and the happy. When she molts, she will be flightless for weeks. They don't know he's watching them, making up stories to keep him company. She will feed her young for 70 days. He sometimes films his vast view to entertain friends and his earlier toddler, the Hilton, from above. She will commute between roosts. He will commune in slow motion with another 64 lonely crane tower drivers in the sky above Manchester. She will dance the symbol of 1,000 years and eternal youth. This collective construction, this dance above the city, this sedge, this siege, this swoop of cranes, red-eyed in the night sky, keeping watch over the city. Thank you, Isabel.
That's gorgeous. Thank you, Sarah. I love calling the Hilton a toddler, just 'cause it's so large, and as Manchester keeps going like that, suddenly it's
yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Quite scary, but there we go. Okay, fantastic. So that is the end of our first half. So what I thought would be good is if we get a drink and we come back. It's 15 minutes too long. Does that sound good? Go like that. It's good. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's have 15 minutes then. If you want to natter, feel free to natter. If you need to go, put the kettle on, go away, come back. And then at 9, we've got these lovely performers. We've got David Keyworth, Sarah L Dixon, Lou Crosby, Estelle Price, Charlotte Murray, Susan Salazzi, Lee Garrett, Jan Berry, and last but not least, Tina Tomosho Thomas. So, okay, let's go get drinks.
Fabulous.
I'm going to go make a gin and tonic. I'll be back in a minute. I literally just said, oh, you don't have to be on mute. You can turn it off if you want. And while I was on mute. So prime example of what not to do. Just told everyone on YouTube what we're doing in case they don't know, and they just sort of log on to YouTube and no one's saying anything.
There's Mum.
Hello.
Hello, Lee.
Ah,
Did your internet go off?
I cut myself off there. I was worrying.
No,
But
don't.
I'm back.
So, Lee, when you got diagnosed with Black Death, what actually did you have?
Well, I was in. Actually, I don't know what version. There's quite a long story to this. I'll give you the kind of the. I'll give you the not the short story. I'll give you the middle range stories. But I was in India. Backpacking. It was the summer of '94, and there was an outbreak of the bubonic plague, because I didn't realise at the time that Black Death still exists around the world. And anyway, so I woke up the day I was flying back from Delhi. I woke up and my mate said, "Oh, Lee, have you seen the paper?" And I looked at the paper, and it was "Black Death Strikes" as the headline in the English language paper, like the Delhi Times or something.
Oh God!
I thought, oh, flipping heck, right. By midday that day, there was like people going around with masks on, which I suppose was unusual then, but not unusual these days with COVID. By evening, it was like full on panic. Anyway, we went to the airport, me and my friends, and there was a mob trying to storm the airport and there was like the soldiers and stuff were outside with the rifle beating off the mob trying to storm the airport. We got into the airport, all the airlines were shutting down. I got on the last flight out for 2 days. It was Uzbekistan Airlines. Anyway, the WHO flew in and it was all kind of sorted out in a couple of days, but I didn't know that then. When I landed at Heathrow, they came on with like all in the hazmat suits and stuff and spraying us, and they gave us like little leaflets saying like, "Have you had any of the symptoms? If so, can you declare yourself?" I had every one of the symptoms. It was like, "Have you been hot? Have you been like, you know?" But I just wanted to go home to my mum. I just wanted to go home. So I was like, I said, "Oh no, I'm fine." I went home that night, and I was in Rochdale. And anyway, it must have been really bad that night. I can't really remember what happened that night, but I think I said to my mum, "I've got to go to the hospital." So my mum rang up our doctor, who's our family doctor, and he turned up. And yeah, said, and then I remember I was lying on the sofa, and he checked us over, then stood in the corner of the room, and my mum said, "Do you think he might have, what's up with him?" I think it might be the first case of Black Death in Rochdale. So I went into the North Manchester General, and I was in the tropical infectious isolation disease ward for 2 weeks. I didn't have any treatment. And the first day they said it was bubonic. They thought I had the bubonic plague the first day. I was in like an ensuite. And then the next day it'd be like, and there was nurses coming around checking us out. And every day it turned into something else like typhoid and cholera, but it wasn't the bubonic plague. It was, in the end, it turned out to be brucellosis, because I've been drinking, while I was in northern India, while I was in the Punjab, I've been drinking water buffalo milk on the side of the streets, and that was, there was some kind of bacteria in it, and I contracted brucellosis. So it wasn't it wasn't the bubonic plague, but I was diagnosed at some point as having, by medical practitioners, as having the Black Death, which I'm quite proud of. That's quite good.
And it's a fun thing for people that don't know that it still exists in the world.
I know, right? Yeah. Who knew the Black Death was still around? Well, I mean, some people would, but I didn't know that. Where were you in the High Peak, Isabel?
I was in New Mills, so I'm going back there this weekend, literally probably maybe the last time until we get forced into Manchester lockdown. But yeah, no, I was in New Mills like 20 years.
New Mills. Yeah.
a nice walker's town. It's my dog's there, and I wouldn't have him in the city centre. So he's got his nice hills, rabbits to chase. You know the high peak.
Is your dog living?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
What was that, Susan?
Is your dog living independently?
No, he's with my family. He's not that independent. He needs feeding. Although he was a little rescue that we found in Manchester from one of the rescues, and he was very good at finding his own food. So maybe.
Oh, poor thing.
I know. Well, no, he just begs. He goes up to people, hello, and they give him.
Irresistible.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of you may have already read this book, a book called The Hacienda, How Not to Run a Club, actually written by Peter Hook. And I'm sure a few of you maybe even went to the Hacienda. I didn't myself, but it is a great book. If you want to read a good book on the Hacienda, I would say that's probably like the definitive one from the ones I've read.
Nice, might read that, Ben. Thank you.
So has it been launched today, Isabel? The book is it?
Today is the launch.
Wow. So does that mean like obviously these days kind of book publishing and marketing has been like changed a bit, I suppose. Does that mean it's kind of gone like live in bookshops and Amazon and things like that today, as opposed to Blackwell's? Because I know Blackwell's have had it, right?
Yeah, Blackwell's super supportive. It's the first time that we've had a book in that shop as well, Sam. I was very excited. So we're in there, and we're also in, Chorlton Bookshop. So they took some copies, so that was awesome as well. First time in there as well. So Amazon, Waterstones, all of that online. The day we get into Waterstones in person will be the day I give up.
No. It was the day you decided to do even more.
I don't know, Rod. I think I'll have a long sleep after that. But
see, the thing is, 30 years ago, my son had a poem in an anthology with Lem Cece. And it's 30 years later, I've got a poem in an anthology with Lem Cece. So quite pleased about that.
Might be a silly question, but was Lem Cece so famous 30 years ago? Like completely as famous as now?
Not as famous. No, it was the anthology was called, I think, it was Dancing on Diamonds, I think it was called.
Nice.
And it was young Manchester poets. I mean, I think my son was about 15 or 16 at the time, and it was just young Manchester poets. If I can, I'll tell you what, I'll mute myself and I'll see if I can find a copy of it handy.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested. Did anyone watch?
I remember Lem as a young man in Manchester, and he used to do readings for teachers and at the Dialstone and various places. It was wonderful.
Oh, wow.
I didn't. I mean, I'm sure I'm ignorant here. I thought I was quite up on all things Manchester, but obviously a big omission of mine. I never really associated Lem Cece as a Manchester poet. I mean, I thought, John Cooper Clarke and people like that, but no, Lem Cece had kind of passed me by. In fact, I don't really know what his Manchester lineage is. Where do people know where he comes from in Manchester? I mean, does he still live in Manchester? I'm assuming not. Most people go to London, don't they? But where's he? I don't know much. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know his Manchester connection really.
Well, do you know he did a documentary, which is really good, by the way. And on it, I saw that he walked from, I think it was Sheffield to Manchester, because he just always wanted to be in Manchester. And he was on his own at that point. So he just, he took up route maybe when he was 18, 19. He might have been younger.
He's Chancellor or Vice Chancellor at Manchester University now. Right. Adopted by a family quite near Manchester. Was that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Definitely, he spent some of his childhood in Wigan. He's one of our like Wigan famous people.
Mm.
I
My
think
partner got to shake his hand when she got a degree at Manchester. And claim to fame.
My claim to fame.
Shaking Mem Sisse's hand.
That was me.
Yeah. Yes.
I think talking of Wigan, it was I really enjoyed reading in his biography, in his reader biography in the Anthology, all these amazing places that he'd read that, like, you know, you'd only dream to read of, like the House Congress and all that, and then he put and Wigan Library. I really liked that. I thought he sort of said a lot about his personality and character, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a wonderful poem on the side of a pub in Fallowfield. I can't remember which one it is.
Oh yeah.
And he's got a huge one, and he's got
Hardy's well, yeah.
In fact, I think the poem in here, Isabel, isn't his poem in here the one that's in the atrium at MU?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Pretty certain it's the same. Yeah.
I live about 3 minutes walk from where that poem is on Hardy's well, and I sort of pass it most days.
In Fallowfield.
It's more like Rusholme, yeah.
Okay, Rusholme, yes, you're right. Right on the border,
It's just the end of the Curry Mile, pretty much.
Yeah. I hear it's been threatened several times with being removed, but I hope it isn't, because it's...
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in this house for about 7 years, and only 5 years ago it was a pub that was open that you could go in, you know, but now it's closed.
Yeah.
I thought I heard the pub was going to be pulled down, which seemed a real shame. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, that might have been it, I suppose, why it was going to disappear.
Right. Yeah.
It is a derelict building at the moment.
I used to work really near there. Yeah.
I found that old anthology.
Oh yes.
It's called Dancing at Diamonds.
Or Common Word.
Yes, it is. It's Common Word, yeah.
Amazing.
Poetry and short stories by young writers. Yeah. And it's got by Lem Cecilin called The Truth Hurts, which of course it does sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Just a bit of me getting my own back on my son.
Thanks for showing us.
Right, lovely. Shall we have some more poetry?
Sure.
I think I've got that now. So, first up, if you're feeling ready, David. David has recently been published. I wrote this down and then I thought of the building and I thought, no, it is the Journal, singing in Manchester. David has recently been published in Orbis and lots of other journals. And we're very lucky to have him perform for us tonight.
Yes, okay, thank you. This first poem is called City Tour. It's about when I relocated to Manchester, and I didn't have any connections at all with the city apart from that I really liked the music, like New Order, the Smiths and the Happy Mondays, and I was always getting lost in the city centre. So this is called City Tour. I didn't tell the city guide that I couldn't recall the bomb. It must have been on the news the day of England versus Scotland, Euro 96. Gazza's overhead chip then shot, hitting the back of the net. Switching streams, wrong turn after wrong turn, found myself at Cathedral Gardens, the Urbis Centre, an exhibition called Every Cloud. Glass shattered, no one died. Urbis became the National Football Museum. Trams mutated from white to yellow. Corner House became home near what was the Hacienda. Post-bomb regeneration, Sinclair's Oyster House moved to New Cathedral Street, taken apart, rebuilt, brick by brick. And the second poem is a very short poem about the day after the Manchester Arena bomb, and it's called 2305-2017. On Tuesday morning after the bomb, Great Ancoats Street and Swan Street were closed to traffic, so the birds on Oak Street could hear themselves singing, as if someone had decided to start the day again.
Thank you, David. It's gorgeous. And I think that shorter poem, but it's packed such a punch. I think it just says you don't actually have to have a lot of words to make someone feel emotion. So next up, we have the lovely Sarah L Dixon, who recently had a lovely collection out called Adding Wax Patterns to Wednesday. So if you like her poetry tonight, send her a message and say you'd like to read the rest of her collection.
Thank you, Isabel. I'm going to read a short poem called Mr. Manchester about Tony Wilson. I did my nails bee coloured. So this is Mr. Manchester at the Free Trade Hall in 1976. He took the reckless sparks from this June night, channeled them, kindled beginnings, brought bands into being, made Manchester happen. I met him at the Bridgewater Hall in 2004. He handed me a false diploma to represent a real OU degree. I said thank you as I shook his hand firmly, investing 2 words with the debt Manchester owed him. 3 years later, renal cancer I had typed into truth couldn't belong to Tony Wilson, not this Tony Wilson. I wish the diagnosis was as false as the diploma he presented to me. His contagious belief continues in us, but his vision, his overburdened heart, his passion, his drive are all in a box marked FAC 501. And this is 8th Day Cafe, and it's for Dominic Berry because he's in it. So he used to be everywhere. 8th Day Cafe. My chlorine hair and my resolve to eat well after a kilometre breaststroke bring me to this place. Like a friendly, sparsely lit school canteen. I write with water wrinkled fingers under the table, watch as people interact in the old way. A student highlights text with orange marker to match his hair and the patches on his jumper that I suspect are not a fashion statement. Dominic Berry should echo from the walls and be reflected in the tables as Manchester's premier gay vegan poet. There was a time he was at every event I stood and quivered at, and I wish I bought a ticket for Wizard. I miss his overblown actions and his genuine pleasure at seeing a familiar face. As I taste the faint lentil of aduki beans in my tomato soup, I hear him recite, "Tomorrow I will go dancing." As I finish my beetroot and hummus roll and drain my organic apple juice, I crave sex, chocolate and deep fried chicken. I'm tempted to upturn the sea salt onto my tongue, stuff my mouth with butter pats. I crave the kadink of Twitter and BBM. A noisy dancing group of 8 staff enjoy a group hug, and their smiles infect me. I leave carrying a smile and the faint scent of aduki beans to St. Peter's Square tram stop. Thank you.
I'm quite hungry now, Sarah. It's all the reference to food and salts and makes me want munchies. Thank you, Sarah. So now we have the lovely Lou Crosby, who is a poet, printmaker and illustrator, so a woman of many trades.
Hi, thanks a lot, Isabel. I really love Manchester. I've been here, moved there when I was 18. I live just over the border now, but I love the occasions of Manchester and mainly gigs actually, but I go to about 4 football matches a year, the cheap ones. And this I wrote in January 2020 about one of those matches. And even though it's this year, it just seems a mile away, miles and miles away, just for what's possible and what isn't possible anymore. So this is City Derby, second leg, January 2020. It's the squash on the tram, checking for scarves, talking to rivals, the walk in the dark. It's joining the march or decked in sky blue, the glow from the roof that leaks to the sky. It's burger bar steam, pint pots stacked high, orange-clad stewards, selfies with mascots, crisscrossing fans or going the same way. It's finding the gate and waiting in line, the arms out search, tall turnstile squeeze. Endless corridor of open coats. Betting slips and bars, loud pundits on screens, hot dogs and ketchup, meat pie and chips. It's a glimpse of the blue seats, flashes of green. Finding the aisle, stepping down to the row, counting the seats, the shuffling along, nodding to neighbours, checking the view, the rows of faces lit up by the glow, the flood lit emerald jewel. It's a single word that starts off a chant. It's a single note, a head thrown back song, the clapping in time, the oath till we die. For city stand up, arms high for Hey Jude, the away fans chants, drowned by blue moon. A rise of the team, clapping in time, each name, a loud tannoy song, taken by this crowd. First whistle, a cheer, a boo for the next, screaming opinion, shouting at the ref. Each corner, applause, each lost ball, a groan, following the play, tracking every move. The willing, the stop breathing, the gasp, the head grabbing moan, the clapping, more cheers, repeating the songs, the shout for a pass, the stadium on the feet, a leap for a goal, the roar, silenced by VAR. It's the losing, but knowing we're through. It's the analysis all the way home. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. You've got Hessler from Rod. He says, as a lifelong Red, I have to say that was in very bad taste. But you know what, Lou? Rod should have written a poem about being a Red. So, you know, what can you do?
I think the Blues win actually in this book. I think I was counting it properly. I'll check.
On purpose, but we just didn't get any Reds. So if Rod feels strongly against your poem, then he's going to have to write one.
Yes.
Next up, we've got Estelle Price. He has an MA in creative writing and has actually 3 poems in the book. So I don't know how many she's going to do tonight, but I'm ready to listen.
Thank you, Isabel. It's a real pleasure to listen to everybody's poems. It makes me feel as if I'm actually in Manchester at the moment. Such a breadth of experience. My first poem, I'm just going to read 2. My first poem takes inspiration from the sculpture collection at Manchester Art Gallery. I think you just need to know there's a whole range of sculptures referenced, but most of them are by men and 2 are by women. One, Widow by Susie McMurray, and Emmeline Pankhurst by Hazel Reeves. It takes a woman to know a woman. When the lights go out, Widow wakes, rustles the adamantine pins that project from every square of her full-length frock. She carries a woman's grief in her black leather skin, glints as she glides her loss, unable ever to be touched, across the polished floor in search of Venus Victrix, who, at Widow's command, drops the golden apple balanced in her marble hand. For who needs an apple to establish value? Widow asks Venus. Asks the same of Eve, naked Eve, who huddles on a plinth, arms shielding her body as if her breasts are brimming with crimson shame. On another floor, Iphigenia bows her head, waits without complaint for a father's sword to enter her ribs, not even stony eyes permitted to resist. Come, says Widow, it doesn't have to be like this. She leads her women through the halls until she finds the reader seated on a chair, rosettes on her shoes, book half open, only a smile to suggest what she is thinking. Follow me, says Widow. It's time to untie your opinion. Even the warrior, Boadicea, Widow rouses, Boadicea who has no spear or chariot, whose arms are placed about her daughter's shoulders, as if they take an evening stroll around the city. We need your fury, Widow says, not this bizarre conformity. The 6 look from a barred window onto Mosley Street. Nearby in St. Peter's Square, a woman in a bronze jacket stands on a chair. Arm outstretched, protest spills from open mouth. There are no apples, her head is unbowed. Even without words, her call to rise is loud. She is Emmeline, says Widow, sculpted from torment by the hands of a woman like me. you. That's my first poem. The second one is a found poem, which is built up from fragments from various publications like the BBC, Manchester Evening News, New York Times even, after the 1996 bombing in Manchester. And it starts with a quote from President Clinton, 15th of June 1996, when he says, "I wish the British government every success in finding and bringing to justice those responsible." It was such a nice sunny day. You've got 1 hour. I can hardly believe it now. They were still carrying on as normal. I don't want to die because someone wants to finish their pizza. We were thinking of getting it towed away, just another hoax. It won't go off. The biggest bang ever, a mighty boom. The wedding car lifted off the floor. Orange glass powder. It was quite beautiful. It glittered. The line went dead. Children with us. Shards of glass. People were so shocked they were running into walls. We were an hour late, but the registrar married us. A mannequin hanging out of a window like a dead body. No way we could get back to Bury. A bride and groom running towards me. She is heavily pregnant, but the baby's heart is still beating. We sincerely regret the injuries to civilians which occurred. As we stepped outside Compsall Station, we could see people mowing their lawns. What bomb? A miracle no one was killed. Much more aware of what could happen after that. I think it's very unlikely that you'll see convictions for the Manchester bomb of 1996. I'm alive. We all are. Thank you.
That was gorgeous. If you scroll up in the comments, Estelle, Alicia said that it takes a woman to know a woman. She was reading it earlier and it actually made her cry. So you've moved people to strong emotion, which is always lovely to know. So next up we have Charlotte Murray, and I was really surprised but also delighted to know that it's their first published poem. So it's great to have you.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be published in the book. It's a fantastic book and I've enjoyed hearing everyone's poems. So this is mine. It's called Rough Sleeping in the Second Richest City. Newsstands scream, clear the streets. Bright carrier bags sleep against silent, age-old sentries with faces of stone. Rustling cave of warmth, the only roof willing to offer protection from the cloud's cold pearls of rage. Daughter's road-weary stuffed toy, threadbare with embraces. Lone reminder of crenellated memories. Lines of ink charting the last safe paths to oblivion, woven with the whiff of a different world, the accumulated detritus of a life, suspended between thumb and forefinger at arm's length, swept and scraped into an airless tomb. You can keep your coat. Wildness in the purple moons of eyes speaks of roots ripped from the earth, but the words fall into the same fault line as all past cries for help. Shopping bags swing by, eye contact racing to get away, visibly and persistently indifferent. Animated voices speculate for well over half an hour on what colour will it be, does it have a touchscreen? Now tell me again how material things don't matter. Shrouded in a torn mantle of red, white and blue, in their ancient hidden chamber between department store walls, shuddering and blistering in the unfavourable light of contagious misfortune, a foot in the face in haste for the next train, counting the metallic tang of change, hoping there's enough to get through the next day.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Charlotte. So now we have Susan Salazzi, who helps run the Manchester Women's Writers Group and is a gorgeous poet. And what you can't see when she performs today is that her poem, I'll see if I can find it, is in a shape. So maybe if I can show it you.
I've got a copy of it.
Amazing.
I'm not sure if it shows up with the light. It's a shape poem and it's circular to represent Central Library, which is in fact the title of the poem. So, our own Pantheon gleams whitely, its portico offering a grand welcome to the reader. Inside, the vast entrance hall is no less splendid, with shields and crests of the great and the good. Stained glass scenes from Shakespearean plays underline our scholarly purpose here. So too the marble statue of the pensive reading girl, who greets us on our way upstairs to the resounding glory of the great hall. Intimidated by polished shelves of venerable tomes, dwarfed beneath the magnificent dome, we barely dare to breathe aloud, for each whisper will echo in circular exuberance to distract the reader bowed in study, obedient to the lofty overhead call to wisdom. Today we do not enter, but collect outside to start our march against climate change, snaking forth in loud protest, carrying banners of loving care for our planet.
Lovely, thank you, Susan. And next we have Lee Garrett, and this is where, when at the start, if you were with us, I was down to my last three writing the fun fact about them from their bios in the book. So they were normal, but then we got to Lee and I said, you know, have you got a fun fact for yourself? So the fun fact about Lee is a bit off the wall. He was diagnosed with Black Death, which was the wrong diagnosis. And we're really glad that you lived through it. So he's here to perform poetry for us today.
Yeah, it's not really meeting the criteria of fun fact, that, is it? It's the fun bit, isn't it? Yeah. Right. Yeah, my poem's called Main Road. Yeah, I think it is obviously about football. I think it's obviously about Manchester. But for me, as I was thinking of it and as I reflect on it, I think it's about this weird thing that gets weirder for me every day, about the aging process, about this weird disconnect, you know, the past is a foreign country, and how about the Manchester of my youth, you know, the kid packs of the 1970s and the 80s is an entirely different place to the Manchester now. And I'm reflecting on the Manchester that my dad had and my granddad had, totally weird different places. And it's that weird. I remember being a kid and seeing old people, you know, old women walking around Failsworth or Wythenshawe and they were in a different world to me. So it's as much about that as Main Road or Manchester. Anyway, this is Main Road. On winter nights, you'd take me to the football, through dark terrace streets huddled in their ruins, beneath the floodlights, wrought iron hammered by men and bent to the sky. Inside, piss and beer puddled the concrete, chanting voices ebbed and roared. I watched a far-off fight, the crowd parting, then surging like seaweed in the surf. Then home, the metronome of windscreen wipers, rain battering the glass. To grow old is to slowly become a stranger. An old woman drifts past unseen, still hearing the piano, voices raised in song. The tide went out a long time ago and never came back. She walks through what wreckage is left, sifting the flotsam for anything old. I still go to the football sometimes, buy my ticket online, then sit, thousands strangely muted, watching rich young foreign men kick a ball. Above, the skies darken and it rains, and as I walk away, oil slicks the pavement, rainbows form in the gutter, till, finally, in the cracks of the city, the millstone, the unicorn, I wash up, battered and gasping. And then, the floor still heaving beneath us, we sit around the fire and share our stories, clinging to the past, clutching to our pints. Thank you.
Cheers, Lee. And next up we have Jan Berry. Now we have another off-the-wall fun fact about Jan because so the government at the moment is doing a retrain thing, which obviously if you're in a creative industry, they want us to retrain, and some interesting options of what we should retrain as. So Jan looked very hard at her and decided she could do this job. Said she should retrain as either a funeral director or a sports coach. So Don't know which one is right for you, Jan, but I wish you every best.
Okay, thank you. Well, as I'm retired, I'm not actually going to retrain for either, but it was quite fun to do. So my poem is called My Tribe. I don't live in Manchester now, but I lived in Manchester for 20 years, and I was living in Manchester at the time of the arena bombing, and this poem, My Tribe, was written just after that. It's my tribe. Atrocities happen across the world. Villages bombed, children killed, torture and genocide. But now it comes close to the streets of my city, to the cathedral at its heart, to my bookshop closed and cordoned off, to where my friend gets the tram. This is my tribe. I'd never heard of Ariana Grande, the young star whose music enchanted children and teens, now joined in headlines with bombs and terror. I didn't know of the concert, a magnet to fans across the nation. But now Facebook images flash across my screen, indelibly tattooed on my being. This is my tribe. Public tears overflow, fill the streets and squares, waves of grief in flowers and bees. I want to keep vigil. I struggle to find words for prayer. I want to walk the streets and gather up the fragments of loss. But I go on with the routine of my daily life, tensions weighing me down. This is my tribe. Another concert. The music plays. A school choir sings. A policeman dances. A young girl soars over the rainbow. Hope rises. This is my tribe.
That was a really lovely reading. Thank you, Jen. Last but not least, so Tina's having internet issues, but we do have, she might be able to join us. She's trying again now, so we'll see. But we have a last minute entry, which I'm excited about because I love Vicky's poem in the collection. So we've got Vicky Morris, who works, well, basically runs High South Yorkshire, which works with young writers. So she told us earlier she was editing an anthology for them. But she's stepping away for a few minutes to read for us today. So I'm looking forward to that.
Now, sorry, I'm being useless. Hi everyone, I've so enjoyed the readings. They just really lifted my mood because I was in a bit of a crappy mood, and it's a little bit weird, isn't it, having people beamed into your room, but it's been so nice. So thank you so much, and thank you for publishing me as well, Isabel. I wonder if I can be so bold to read a poem by a young writer that isn't in the anthology, but I just feel it's really relevant to what's being read tonight and stuff. She's 15 and she was at the arena, the bombing, and she'd never written a poem before. And she wrote this. Her name's Leah Burley, and I just feel like she needs to be heard. So this is called Dear Body. Dear body, I have lost you to the man who carried destruction in a rucksack. I have lost the page in the book in which you are located, and the control I once had has been bashed to pieces in the blast, flicking the pages furiously fast, making it impossible to find you. A terrorist has you, and I'm trying, but I can't see you through the blizzard. A selfish terrorist who's not only wanted to destroy you, but took 22 others with him to a place unknown. Somewhere whilst healing, I see glimpses of you, But there are days when I'm starting to believe you don't want to come back to me because I broke your trust. I was supposed to protect you and pull you out of danger, but I almost lost you forever. Dear body, your replacement is a broken building, foundation shaking, almost falling, but not quite. Maybe it's what I deserve, demolition. I know you are hanging on to me by a thread, but sometimes I feel as though you've abandoned me forever. I'm trying to punish the girl I am on the inside, to purge the guilt I have for endangering you and 3 of the bodies. But you are still taking the pain for me. After everything I have put you through, you are still protecting me. I'm sorry for the terrorist in the man's body who tried with a bomb to take you from me. I took you there for careless happiness, for music. I wouldn't have taken you had I known that someone would try to steal you from me. I remember you escorting me out, past the blood and screaming, the lifeless bodies, trying your best to keep me safe in that arena of pain. I am forever grateful for all you did. Dear body, I can only hope that one day you'll forgive me and have the courage to become me again. I hope that's all right to have read that. I'll let Leah know that I read it for her. And I'll just bring the mood back a little bit with the poem that is in the anthology. So I didn't go to the Hacienda. I came of age in Manchester, but I did go to the Ritz. I used to go to the Ritz on a Monday night, and this guy, there's no point me telling you because the poem will tell you what the Ritz is if you don't know on a Monday night. So this is the Ritz, Manchester, circa 1991. Sometimes you think of the Ritz on a Monday night, £1 in and a watery free pint, the trampoline dance floor vibrating along to each set, first punk, then goth, indie, rock, grunge. You think of the soap spike Mohicans, the nose ring crusties with dreads, the powder white faces and black Macs draped in corners, the DJ in his box taking requests, the time you saw Terry Christian off the TV looking out over the balcony in the smoke and patchouli haze, and all those spaced out hippies with long since proper jobs, dropping microdots and purple ons in the sticky basement chill out zone. And if out of the blue, the opening riff of the Pixies Debaser comes on the radio, you know you'll forget what it is to remember. Find yourself back there running, army booted and tie-dyed, into the low-lying dry ice of the ballroom bounce, leaving your lived-in body and all these years behind you. Thank you. Thanks. I'm going to mute myself.
Thanks so much, Vicky. I really enjoyed yours, and Leah's insane, 15. I mean, young writers are so talented right now. Just goes to show it doesn't matter how young you are, you can be an excellent writer. Okay, brilliant. So I know that Tina's still trying to join, and she was our last reader. So what I thought that I'd do, because we have finished early anyway, is to share with you one of the last poems in the book from someone who's not with us today, who's a commissioned poem, so Jackie Hagan. So it is called, it's in our last orders section of the book, and it is called Oxford Road. And I think it's a quite nice one if we do end with this one, if Tina's internet continues to play up. It's uplifting. It has the highs and lows and the grit of Manchester, I feel. So I feel like it's a lovely one to close on. Oxford Road by Jackie Hagan. In my tiny factory town, I learnt, if you are clever, you go to London and wear a pinstripe suit. You figure out what everyone else wants and run as fast as you can towards it. I was A-star clever when my dad got A-star sick. I stayed close to home. Manchester was red brick and tall. On Oxford Road, I stood in the biggest room I'd ever been in. 5'2", I strained to be seen, smoking rollies in the quad, trying not to think in my own voice. A-star sick got sicker. My mum would make us laugh in hospital corridors. The smell of the amputation ward stayed with me. On the day he died, I was facing the wrong way on Oxford Road. It was 9/11 and everyone was shook. Maureen in the salmon coat told me, God laughs at plans. We laughed too hard together. Manchester gave me second-hand sequins, turned A stars into Class A's, halfway houses, abandoned homes, running from dealers who duped us, and soon I was back in that ward, the smell I'd kept in my chest, with fear now the norm. Between amputations, I dreamt my teeth fell out, and they did. I found the way to laugh at this. Manchester Royal Infirmary restarted my heart on Oxford Road, a theatre where I had music walled my drunkenness, told me my truths are real, and the shame at not doing it right became a storybook. In Whitworth Park, my mum had a gang of kids. 3, 2, 1, go. 3 went for the tallest swing, while 1 ran hard and wrong towards a bench and sat there beaming. His mum laughed at how clever he was. Now there are trains to London every 20 minutes. I get the 6:35 with the businessmen. They look important, like toys kept in the packaging. I am in pyjamas, rainbow hair askew. A pinstripe man helps me with my wheelchair and glimpses a smile. I sit in meetings with platters of fruits, but the train home is always better drinking with strangers. At Oxford Road, the lift is broke. Everyone helps with my wheelchair and my wine. All right, well, it's been an amazing evening and I've loved hearing every single one of you. I think it really shows the diversity in the book of different styles, different topics, and all the different sections. We've got lots of different ones like Northern Grit, Northern Dream, Modern Manchester, and we've heard a little bit from each of those sections. And even though we haven't been able to meet in person, I felt really it's been an uplifting experience. So thank you for joining us. If you like the book, obviously, just dropping things now. It's available from us, flyonthewallpoetry.co.uk, but also anywhere you want to buy it is fine by me. It's on Waterstones Online, Amazon, Chawton Bookshop, Manchester, Oxford Road, Blackwell's, and lots of other places where you can buy a book online. It will be there. So thank you for celebrating Manchester with us tonight, even if you're not based in Manchester. And I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Thank you for celebrating with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Isabel.
Cheers. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Isabel. A fantastic tribute. Well done.
You.
Thank
you, Isabel, for all your work. Thank you.
Huge job.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Isabel. Cheers, everybody. Lovely to meet you. Take
Lovely
care.
to meet you. Take care.
You're all again
Bye.
sometime.
Bye.
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 Bye.